Hello everyone, in this video we are going to be taking a look at how to assemble the Xtension Pinball side buttons. Shown here you can see all of the parts and tools required. You have your button housings, your acrylic side plates, the 4 pinball buttons, screws, pencil, drill, and Phillips head screwdriver. For this first step, you want to remove the protective film from the acrylic plates. If you have trouble peeling off the film, spray the plates with a product like Goo Off, let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes, and at that point you should be able to remove the film easily. This is what it looks like when you remove the film. At this point, we are ready to install the buttons into the acrylic side plates. Make sure that the Xtension logo is facing the front of the button. Go ahead and pop the button into place, and do that for all 4 buttons. We are now ready to move on to the cab and continue the installation. For this step, we will be using the left button housing. Make sure to face the edge with the curve towards the front of the cab. The pinball button wiring will be pre-installed for you when you order the Xtension controller and choose the Xtension pinball buttons as an add-on. We are now ready to thread the pinball button wiring through the housing. After this, you want to align the wiring with the opening on the top of the housing before putting it flush against the side of the cabinet and the underside of the controller. If you would like the pinball buttons to be further back, slide the pinball housing slightly to the left until you feel resistance from the wires. You can now use a pencil to mark the position of the 4 screws of the housing on the side of the cab. When complete, remove the button housing and repeat these steps on the right side of the cab. You can now remove the 4 bolts on each corner of the controller and unplug the USB cable from your computer, as we will be removing the controller for the next step. To remove the controller, lift up and away from the cab. You're now ready to drill holes on each side of the cabinet using the markings that you made prior. Be mindful not to drill through the wood to the other side when drilling the holes. You can now reinstall your controller. Be mindful not to pinch the pinball button wires. They must be over the side of the cabinet and centered in the wire pass-through slots on each side of the controller. You can now thread the wires through your pinball housing once again, but this time we are going to screw it into place using the pilot hose from the previous step. We will now be connecting the wires to the buttons on the acrylic plate you assembled earlier on in the video. You'll be connecting them to these terminals. The front button will be your flipper. For that one, you want to use the purple cable. It does not matter which terminal you connect it to. Although we do recommend that you connect it to the outside terminal, reserving the 2 inside terminals for the ground cables. The rear button is your MagnaSave and or nudge button. We'll be using the green cable for that one. If you push the black micro switch into the button as you insert the cable, just grab it on both sides and give it a pull to position it back into place. With the 2 color cables connected, we'll be connecting the black daisy chain ground cables to the 2 remaining terminals. We will now clean up our wiring by tucking any slack into the button housing. You can now align the acrylic plate with the housing, as we will be pushing it into place. Work your way all around the perimeter, putting pressure on the plate until it snaps into place securely. Quick tip: when installing the acrylic plate, it may be necessary to slightly bend the terminals if you feel like they are pushing against the side of the cab. We'll now repeat the same process on the right side of the cabinet with connecting the wires. This time, the red wire will be your flipper button, and the blue wire will be your MagnaSave and or nudge button. We'll finish up by connecting the 2 ground wires. And once again, we'll place the acrylic plate over the housing and apply pressure until it is firmly in place. You can now insert the 4 bolts on each corner to secure your controller into place. Please do not over tighten. Congratulations, you've just installed your Xtension Pinball side buttons. And now, get ready to play. Quick tip, your pinball buttons are piggybacked off of the face buttons of your controller. In other words, when configuring your pinball software, your left flipper will be X, your left MagnaSave will be Z, your right flipper will be W, and your right MagnaSave will be the letter I.